Hello and welcome to episode 407 of Geektown Radio. I'm your host Dave, and with me this week is... Ray, how are you doing?
Oh, I am good, thank you.
Good. It's been a few weeks since you've been on. What have you been up to?
So since I was on with you and we were launching the Geektown Awards, I thought it would be my job to go out there and see some of the things that we put up for nominations in the multiple lists that we had. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more with you, but I have watched all 3 Doctor Who's.
Yes,
but we'll talk about that when we come on to you. But I've also been watching very slowly Culprits and Upload. Been trying to get through those. I'm getting a little bit more into Upload. I think when I first started talking to you about it about 2 episodes ago, I was struggling with it. I'd forgotten the big gap between seasons, and now I'm slightly getting back into it. And so I think I'm on episode 4 now, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not sure where they're going to go if they complete this season and if there'll be another one. I'm not sure there's been any announcements about that yet.
Not yet, no.
But, I am enjoying it again. I do love the both lead actors in that. They're really quite good. They've got good chemistry. Culprits I am enjoing, but they're such long episodes, and I've been really struggling this term with how busy work has been. So sometimes I sit there and think, an entire hour? Maybe I'll go for a half an hour one instead. So then you see me watching things like Two Doors Down, which is a sitcom on BBC. Absolutely hilarious. I put it on the other night and my partner who'd never seen it before was watching it with me, and you could just see him finding it so funny. Just these character observations of people in Scotland in this street where they all live near each other. It's just such a comedy. It got bumped back up to BBC One this year. Yes. From its BBC Two home, and one of the characters returned. Doon McKeeshan, who many people might know from Smack the Pony in the 90s, was a lead character. Yeah, she was a lead character episodes from seasons 1 to 5, and then she decided to step away, but her character was so iconic, and they've created a great storyline for her to return in episode 1 of season 7. Just brilliant writing there, and I hope it gets a couple more seasons. So I know normally when a comedy show gets bumped to BBC One, it sometimes is the start of the end. They kind of be like, we're going to end the series now, but no, that's been really good. And I'm still watching Lazarus Project, still enjoying that. Again, longer episodes, so it takes me a while to get through them. And then we started 007 Road to a Million. Have you seen this, Dave?
I haven't, no. How is it? Because I was aware of it. I'd seen like press releases and stuff for it. But yes, how's it going? Because it's a reality TV show.
It's a reality show. So it's just a bit of an odd setup. So my partner watched Race Across the World and really enjoyed that. And there's an element of that to it. Plus they have these quizzes and these tasks, and they're all around the world of James Bond. Like they start their first one in Scotland and then they go to Italy. It's just there are about 8 or 10 couples involved, and like episode 1 you only meet 2 couples, and then in episode 2 you meet another 2 couples, and yet you keep going back to. It's really odd how it's done, and it keeps you guessing because some couples don't last the entire run and some couples are clearly going to last a bit longer. So like we've just watched episode 2 and we meet a couple for the first time, but we haven't seen them before. So they sort of go through how they got to this point. There's really clear editing decisions, almost like these characters aren't interesting enough when they do their first 2 tasks. So we're not going to show that. Brian Cox is loving life. He's in a little room with lots of computer screens, and in his big husky voice, he's making comments and sly nods to the camera.
Should clear up that is not Professor Brian Cox. That is the Succession Brian Cox. Yes.
It's very slow paced, and obviously it's not your standard reality show because you don't really get to know the contestants. You're almost introduced to a new set of contestants each week, but they've been doing the entire run with the first set. Very odd.
That's a really strange way of doing it.
Yeah,
but,
it's a very strange way.
It seems to have been working okay. It's got a second season renewal. In fact, I think they actually renewed it before it had even started, so they seem to have faith teeth in it.
Yeah,
but,
it's very glossy, very good, very well shot, and they've put their money into it. So
it's also a kind of an interesting one that they've got away with doing this, because obviously this has come out of the fact that MGM, who make the Bond movies, is now owned by Amazon, but they aren't allowed to do anything directly with James Bond without the permission of the people that own James Bond, the Broccoli family.
The Broccolis, yeah.
So you're not going to see like a young James Bond TV series or a James Bond TV series because the Broccolis won't allow it. They will only allow them to make movies. So they're sort of using the James Bond name to create things like this, which is a really interesting offshoot. But I mean, fine. Okay. I did sort of look at it slightly sideways when they said that they were going to do it, but as long as it's entertaining enough, I guess.
Yeah, doing the job. We're enjoying Survivor, much to the mass media's absolute distaste for it. Joel Dommett and his 24 contestants. It's exactly how I remember the first two seasons from many years ago on ITV. It's just the psychology of how people behave and, you know, to try and get immunity, and then voting and alliances and tactics. It's really, you know, it's a very clever show. I know that everyone is hating on it, so it probably wouldn't come back again, but I think they've got a good formula, and it is interesting to see how it works. So we've been enjoying that. We've still got 2 episodes to catch up on, and then we'll be up to date. And I think the final will land just before Christmas. So that's Joel Dommett's Survivor. Then shows that I have completed. So some of the classic ones, the weekly reality shows, Taskmaster, Drag Race UK, and Great British Bake Off, all finished in the last couple of weeks. Enjoyed watching them and suddenly get some of my evenings back. That's what we were filling up with rather than the hour-long dramas.
Yeah.
But one that absolutely kept me hooked, one that we obsessed about, was Squid Game The Challenge.
Right.
To a point that when the second half, so it wasn't even the second half, when the second lot dropped, we watched 4 hours in one night. I got home from work, down came all my work stuff, cup of tea on the sofa, and we stayed there for 4 hours because it was so good. Like the way they made it and how they use Squid Game as the source material. I mean, I'm really picking at straws. The only disappointing bit was the final episode because there was less jeopardy. When you had 456 people or 200 or 18 or 90 or 6, there seemed to be more jeopardy because you had more characters, more personality. But once you got to the final 3 and then the final 2, it was like that was taken away from you a little bit. And we finished the last episode, we were like, oh, felt a bit disappointing. But brilliant show. And I know that made it into one of our lists, didn't it, Dave, at the very end? Because it was released in November. Did it make it into the reality list?
Yes, I think it did make it into the reality list. It's actually, like spoilers for later on in the show, it has been renewed for a second season as well. So it's clearly doing well enough for Netflix. So, it's not one I've watched. I haven't even watched Squid Game. And obviously, I mean, the key difference between the drama and this is they're not killing people, I'm assuming.
Are they not, Dave?
While they're doing this? I'm assuming not, anyway. That would seem quite drastic. But I mean, it's a really interesting idea when you've got, you know, a TV show that is based around this kind of warped, twisted game show that they then turned into a game show, which is slightly less warped and twisted. But I mean, it's an interesting idea. I like it.
I'd definitely recommend it. And then one I did finish in between all of that was Solar Opposites. You know, I'm a huge fan of Solar Opposites, especially the Wall episodes. And I really enjoyed that. It took me about 2 episodes to even forget about the voice thing. And I just think that Dan Stevens has brought a really great character to him. And I, you know, it works for me. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next season already. And I'm like, this is probably my new favorite animation, and it's done really well. And so, I was really happy with watching that and bring on the next season.
Yeah, I, same as you, after the first couple of episodes, completely forgot about the voice stuff as well. I have to say, the way that they've done it for these 2 shows, replacing Justin in both of them, it was the right call to do this for Solar Opposites because, you know, to say he's got a different voice, deal with it. And also for Rick and Morty, where they got impersonators essentially to do the voices, and they're doing a stunning job on that as well. Really don't notice the difference. There's very little in it. So I think they've covered their bases really, really well, and the shows can go on, which is great news. But I love Solar Opposites. It's one of my favourite animations as well. It's been brilliant this season.
Yeah, and then I think this has also been a good thing for me. I've seen 3 films since I was last on.
Well done.
And thank you very much. I mean, it has been a very difficult year for getting out to see the cinema. One of my friends is trying to reinstate like a regular Tuesday visit. And I said that would really help because I've been a very bad film reviewer.
Yes.
So in the last few weeks, I went to see the Marvels twice. I went to see Wish, Disney's Wish. And then literally yesterday, I went and saw Wonka. And you know what? None of them disappointed me. I thought the Marvels, again, hated by the media at the moment just because it hasn't taken as much money as all the others. It's a really good story. Like, it's a really strong story. Mm-hmm. It fits into the canon. It has some great performances. I mean, Iman Vellani in particular is fantastic, and her family from the Miss Marvel series come across to the film and they work really well. And I think I started to figure out that the people who hate on these sort of programs really struggle with comedy. They really struggle with the comedic elements. They're fine with a little bit, like in the Avengers, there are small puns, but this one had a very comedy feel and it was feel good, and they really didn't like it. And obviously there's the other thing, there's 3 women in the lead roles, and I think
yeah, I do wonder whether there is a certain amount of sexism going on with it. But one of the things that has come through from every reviewer I've seen is how they love Iman Vellani in that role, and I mean, she was brilliant in the Miss Marvel TV series. I still haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for the home release at this point because I just don't get out to the cinema at all. But I am looking forward to it, and it's a really interesting one that the critics have really gone after, but the audience seem to really like for the people that have actually gone and seen it. It's a really strange situation with that, but I am looking forward to seeing that. I've
seen there's some tweets that are going around which share like the Rotten Tomato statistics for Marvels and put it against some of the most renowned films of all time, and this has got exactly the same. And it's like, why are you all hating on this? Like, it's critically reviewed by audiences exactly the same as, and I can't remember which films it is, some really regarded films that did really well. The reason you're critically hating on it is it hasn't made as much money as you want it to, and it's led by 3 women. But I would go and see it. If you're an MCU fan, if you like Brie Larson, please go in and see it. You'll enjoy it. I know a home release is coming soon, and I think it will absolutely thrive on home release. And it's better than Quantumania. It's better than Multitude of Madness, or whatever, the multiverse of madness, which obviously I still hate on from when it was released. But no, it was a good film. The one I struggled with was Wish. It was good. It was a Disney, their latest animation film, and it sort of feeds in the line of the princess films. But what they've tried to do, the story is trying to pay homage to the 100 years of Disney. And I think sometimes they're so focused on trying to get all these references within, like the main character has 7 friends, and their 7 friends all have a feature of the dwarves, for example. Right. There's one who sneezes and one who keeps falling asleep, and and then there's the boy who wanted to fly, and you see that's a reference to Peter Pan. And there's just all these little tiny things they put in there that what they're trying to do. And I think sometimes that takes away from how the story works. The clear storyline is When You Wish Upon a Star, which obviously the icon for Disney is wishing upon a star, but I don't think it really worked as a storyline. But it's nice. It was fine. It was appreciated when we saw it. It was a good round of applause for Disney doing this 100th animation film that would fall into the princess market. But yeah, there are some storyline flaws for me, and that didn't work. And then Wonka. Oh, can't say enough good things about it. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really impressed with Timothée Chalamet, Olivia Colman. Oh my God, absolutely. Tom Davis, hilarious. Matt Lucas, Matthew Bainton, Patterson Joseph. As soon as you open, like, this isn't a spoiler, as soon as the film opens, Timothée Chalamet singing, and I just leaned over to my partner and went, I didn't realize it was a musical. And then obviously I suddenly started remembering it's supposed to be a compliment to the Gene Wilder film.
Yes, it is.
Which obviously was a musical. So then I was like, of course it's going to be a musical. Brilliant. I mean, I'm already looking to go and see it again. It's that good. And I think it will be, loved by many, and it's going to be a really good film. It's not going to be as big as Barbie, but it's going to be getting up there, in my opinion, in terms of its success and box office and sort of like the imprint that it might make. So really, really impressed.
It feels like the right sort of time of year to release something like that as well. you know, because it's a family film. It picks up on the Christmas market. It seems like a really good time to do it, I would think.
Oh, yeah. This will still be riding high when things like Aquaman come out. I think there'll be, imagine press now, Wonka still beats Aquaman after 4 weeks of release. You know, it's sort of that film. It reminds me very much of when The Greatest Showman was released in Christmas back in the day. And it just kept riding on this wave for ages. And I think this is going to pick up momentum over the Christmas period as all the schools finish next weekend. I think more people are going to go and see it. Word of mouth. It's going to be someone's Christmas cinema visit, but it is really good. I can't fault it in any way. I don't have a problem with it. That's normally I've got some critic, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of my top films for next year's list, 2024. So really impressive.
Awesome.
So over to you, and I know we're going to talk about Doctor Who in a moment, but what else have you been doing, Dave?
We'll probably start with Doctor Who. First of all, quick mention, Geektown Awards are still running. They're running until Boxing Day, so go and check out the Geektown Awards at geektown.co.uk/awards. If you want to give your opinions on some of the things that have been out this year, you can go and fill out the form and you'll be entered into a prize draw. There's a big prize draw with lots and lots of prizes in it, big box of stuff. So go and check out the prize on there. Go and check out the form. It's geektown.co.uk/awards. So just wanted to push you towards that. But yeah, I mean, the big thing has been the 60th anniversary Doctor Who things this week. The last one came out, and we are going to get spoilery with this. So if you haven't seen them, what are you doing? I mean, they're been out for a while, so there are going to be spoilers in this chat, just to warn you now. He, of course, regenerates in this, or bigenerates in this, which is a completely new thing. That has had a sort of mixed reaction across the Doctor Who fandom. Ncuti first showing up has been really, really good. I mean, I've loved all the 3 episodes so far. I think they've all been very different and they've all done wonderful different things. You have very much a sort of two-hander with Wild Blue Yonder. Last time, pretty much the entire thing is David Tennant and Catherine Tate. This one, of course, is much bigger thing. You've got UNIT involved. Kate Lethbridge-Stewart is back. And how can you not mention the fact that there is Neil Patrick Harris there as the toy maker, and he's just outstanding in that. I mean, singing, dancing, menacing, evil, but sort of adorable as well. I mean, just an incredible piece of casting and a wonderful, wonderful role. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris is one of those people that you put in something and it generally makes it better. He was just brilliant. David Tennant and Catherine Tate were superb. I like how they came to the conclusion of the 14th Doctor. I thought that was a really interesting way of Russell T Davies marking Ncuti's 15th Doctor as a new start and getting rid of a lot of the baggage of the previous Doctor by splitting them off and having all the trauma that he's gone through since being William Hartnell, basically, since the Doctor number 1 to Doctor 14 is being worked on by Doctor number 14, and the idea being Doctor 15 has come through all that and is a much freer and more open character. I really rather like that idea, and Ncuti is going to be brilliant. I think it was a beautiful opening for him, turning up in his pants and saving the day. It's great. And it also leaves it in a situation where you can potentially do a few more specials with David Tennant and have him pop in if you want him to for little bits and pieces moving forward. What were your thoughts before I go?
Well, I had taken a rest on Doctor Who. I'd watched a bit of Jodie season after not wanting to watch Peter Capaldi season, and then it just drifted off for me, ran out of time. And so I was really keen to get back into it, and I felt this was the right jump because I really do love David Tennant. And I just thought it was done really well. And you can see the money that has been put into this, which is really good. But then, like, to do an episode like Wild Blue Yonder, it just shows how Russell's not afraid to just give them a two-hander. And it's not about the big guests. And I know he's been running most of his promo about the big names that are coming and appearing. And obviously we saw a lot of them in the giggle with Neil Patrick Harris and Bonnie Langford and Gemma Redgrave. They're all in there. But Wild Blue Yonder for me was just a fantastic episode. It got both of them to really show their acting chops. I think a lot of people underestimate Catherine Tate sometimes as well.
Yeah.
But some of it was brilliant, and the playing against each other, and they're not the best graphics in the world. They're not your Marvel movie or your big Universal movie, but they were really good. Like, you know, my arms are too long and the jaw and the I thought, actually, this is a really, really good production. I really enjoyed it. And then what I like to do is I like to sit back and I like to scroll on the social media and just look at all the weird haters who jump on there and they say the most bizarre things. And it's just like, what benefit do you get? If you don't like it, switch it off.
Yes.
You know, that's all I want to say. Like, if you don't like it, switch it off. What is the point in going online just to say how much you hate something? This brings no value to anybody. It just, you know, I'm really, really pleased I've gone back to watching it. I thought Ncuti was fantastic, and that's how brave Russell is to launch a Doctor like that. He knows he's going to get some haters, but he also knows he's going to get a lot of people who want to see that breath of fresh air, that different approach. And actually, just listening to you then, Dave, if he took on the trauma of the last 14 Doctors, and for us modern viewers, the last 5 Doctors, it would be he'd have to be carrying that. And I think this does give Russell a real chance to bring life to Ncuti, so he's not always feeling sad about Rose sort of thing, or feeling sad about River Song. And it just gives him a chance to really stretch that character. And there's lots of talk now about spin-offs, and is there going to be a unit spin-off? And that could work. And we've already seen the storylines that Yasmin Finney is going to return in some capacity. So is that just her on her own, or will Catherine Tate appear as mum again? And I just love where it's going to go. And I love that he's keeping them guessing, and good on him. He's an absolutely fantastic showrunner, the right person for the job. And I listened to an interview with him not long ago where he was just sort of saying, you know, some people would always go on and never go back. And I think I shocked everyone when I said, I want to go back, because it's just a place that I love, and a place where, you know, I knew Disney Plus was going to be giving us this platform, and I'm glad he's done it, and he's, you know, being right where he needs to be for the 60th anniversary and beyond. Yeah. So yes, brilliant.
Yeah, there was another interesting little thing, which if you didn't realize, you can go onto the iPlayer and they do commentary, you know, like you used to get on DVDs with films where you get a director commentary. They apparently do that on some of the iPlayer episodes as well. Oh. And if you go and listen to those, when it came to talking about the bi-generation situation, Russell seems to be implying that filters through the timeline. So every time the Doctor is regenerated, he's now bi-generated, which means that potentially that gives him access to every single version of the Doctor, but in a slightly older version. Because
so this could lead to the Paul McGann thing.
Yes. So it could lead to him bringing older Doctors back in, and there being a reason for them being older. So it could potentially lead to the Paul McGann series that we've been talking about. I mean, they've not agreed that yet. That was always been a rumor. Paul himself says that it isn't true, but he was on a panel at Comic-Con, and as Peter Davison said, yes, but even if it was true, you'd have to say it wasn't. So that doesn't really get you anywhere. There is a world of possibilities that sort of opens up. And Chris Chibnall, for all his faults, I think one of the things that he did do was he started to massively monkey around with the mythology of Doctor Who. And I think because he did that, it sort of gave Russell a bit more freedom to be able to nudge things more than maybe he would have felt comfortable doing the first time around. You know, so something like the bi-generation, I think, came out of the fact that the Timeless Child thing that Chris Chibnall did and was not particularly liked by people, but it gave a certain amount of freedom, I think, to Russell to be able to do things that maybe he wouldn't have done before. I really like what they're doing with it. I think Ncuti's going to be interesting. Yes, it's going to be very different, but I think it's still going to feel like Doctor Who. And I'm very intrigued to see where they go and what he's got in store. The other great thing, of course, is they are rushing through seasons. They're not waiting with big gaps in between like they used to. And he shot his first season. They're going straight into shooting his second season. So going to be a lot more Doctor Who stuff to come. They've used this to set up a potential unit spin-off, which they've been talking about as well. Although, I mean, technically, I don't think they've officially confirmed that, but it's right there. So, you know, I think, I mean, where we left it was the probability of Donna being part of that. And it means you've also potentially can rope Tennant in on and off. You've also got Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. You've got the other characters in there, and you've got Bonnie Langford in there as well. So there's a lot that you can play with that, which is fantastic. And, you know, bring in old companions, maybe other Doctors along the way. I think there's a lot of stuff you can do with this, and it's going to be a really interesting new universe for Doctor Who, or Whoniverse, as they say. So, yes. So I'm really looking forward to what they do with that. Moving on to a couple of other things. I'm still working my way through Mayor of Kingstown, which is the Jeremy Renner series on Paramount Plus. Very much enjoying that. I'm one episode from the end of the second season, but that's been really solid. It's a good, interesting, gritty drama. Have you got Paramount Plus these days?
I've got it back. We are going to be watching Frasier over Christmas, so I literally got it back a couple of weeks ago. I haven't got Apple Plus back yet. I know I was going to for Slow Horses, but I'm actually going to wait until I finish because the whole school has been mad. So as soon as I've broken up from term, get an Apple Plus back so I can watch that as well. But I've got it back temporarily. So anything good on Paramount Plus you think I could watch over Christmas, then I will try and squeeze it in.
Yeah, Mayor of Kingstown, very dark, sort of gritty drama. It does have elements of humour in it as well, though. Said before, a little bit Ray Donovan in places, because the character, the Mayor of Kingstown, which is Jeremy Renner's character, isn't actually a mayor. He is essentially the fixer for Kingstown, which is a place which is built around 7 prisons that are in that particular area. And he is the liaison between the prisoners and the authorities and the prison guards to basically try and keep a delicate balance of things being okay in the prison. So they let some things slide and a certain amount of drugs get through and that sort of stuff. But it keeps the balance between things going south inside the prison and things going south outside where the criminal gangs are as well. So it's a really interesting setup that they've got for it. And he's basically just trying to sort of walk this line between the two of them. It's so well put together. There's a lot of action in it. There's some really brutal scenes in places as well, but well worth checking out if you've not checked that out and you've got Paramount Plus. It's one of those things that, you know, there now things are slowing down. I started to sort of pick up things that looked interesting, but I hadn't had a chance to watch earlier in the year. So that is certainly one that I would recommend. Vigil also returned on the BBC. That is the drama that was set on a submarine for the first season. It's got Saran Jones and Rose Leslie in the 2 lead roles as 2 police detectives. And they're once again investing something that has gone wrong in an army base. It's actually the Air Force in the second season, and it's to do with a mishap with drones. They're testing a new drones program. Obviously, something goes wrong, and the police get called in to investigate what happened. And that's sort of where we start it. You've got Dougray Scott in this as well, who you'll know from a variety of different things. Batwoman, I think, was probably the last thing people probably saw him in, but, you know, Crime, the ITV drama as well.
Yeah.
He's been in that. He is playing the commander of the base where this thing goes wrong. He's playing a character who, you know, seemingly on the surface is trying to help, but you do wonder when it comes to Dougray Scott whether he's slightly playing both sides. It's 6 episodes in total. So worth going to check out if you've not go and checked out Vigil. Did you see the first season of that? Because it was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first season. It's just timing for me because I knew it was coming out, and in my head I had that it was coming out like Christmas week. So I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll be off school by the time that comes out. And then I saw the trailers for it this weekend, and I was like, no, I'm going to miss the first 2 episodes because I just haven't got the capacity of my brain at the moment to take it on. So it's one that I will really look forward to watching when I finally get the time. So.
Yeah, and it will be out probably by the time or at least most of it will be by the time you actually get to it. And there are only 6 episodes because, it's a BBC, that sort of drama. So, yeah, but worth going to check, definitely. I think season 2's as solid as season 1 was. There was, unfortunately, you happen to be on, and I need to talk about this, but it was the Game Awards this week.
Dave, I have something to say about one of these bullet points, but carry on. I'll give you this information in a minute. Carry on.
Because for those of you that regularly listen to the show, you know that Gray is not really a gamer at all. But it was the Game Awards this week, and there were a few announcements that came out of that. The big one that dropped just before the Game Awards was, of course, the GTA 6 trailer, which somebody leaked a day early, and they then went, oh, well, we'll just put it up a day early. So they just put the official trailer out. It pretty much confirmed everything that we kind of already knew, which is there are 2 protagonists, they're male and female, they're a sort of Bonnie and Clyde setup. We see them sort of robbing banks and stores and stuff. It's set in Vice City, which is basically Miami. It actually takes off a lot of real world Florida incidents. I mean, the sort of Florida man kind of thing. There are a lot of that sort of things. There was a comment that I saw on Reddit, which was somebody saying, so wait, is GTA 6 a simulation of Florida, or is Florida a simulation of GTA? Which I thought was great. The trailers got like scenes which you may have seen on viral videos, which is like, an alligator getting pulled out of a pool, or wandering into a store, or a man painting his house naked, or a woman twerking on top of a car. All of those things are pulled from actual videos which took place in Florida. So it's really interesting what they did with the trailer for that, was actually pulling kind of real events. It looks fantastic. It's GTA. It's coming in 2025, which upset a few people, but I mean, I don't know what they expected, because, they're going to hype the crap out of this for a year, obviously. So 2025 is when it's going to land. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but it looks brilliant.
Yeah, and this is where I saw this trailer, and I was... Because obviously, being a teacher, we have to study certain elements of like gaming and online. So I was prepping for a lesson and looking at some video game stuff. And I saw this trailer, and I generally had a moment of like, what am I watching? I saw them then put side by side the trailer to some of the memes or the original videos, and like the comparison. And then I was like, which one's the simulation? And I was just like, and then when I saw the notes earlier today, I was like, Dave's going to be really impressed with me, because I can input on video games, but it's a culturally aware moment that some of my students will even be talking about. So
yes, it looks great, and it's certainly something that if you're teaching media, it's something that you need to be across. So that was really good. The Game Awards itself, pretty much Baldur's Gate swept across the Game Awards. Baldur's Gate 3, which I am now actually playing. I'm really, really enjoying it. It is so detailed and densely packed, and there is an amazing amount of stuff in that RPG. It's incredible. Deserves all the awards it's been getting. Neil Newborn also picked up an award for best performance of Asterion in that game as well, and he is brilliant, and he's a lovely, lovely guy as well. I was so happy that he picked that up. There was an announcement for a new game, which I don't think anybody really expected, which is from Hello Games, who are the people behind No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, for those of you that don't massively keep up on video games, was notorious when it launched because it was so overhyped, as it was a procedurally generated universe. It was going to have billions of planets. You could visit lots of them. They were going to be full of life and like interesting creatures, and there'd be loads of stuff you could do, and you could basically discover planets that have never been discovered before, and all this sort of stuff. And it was nowhere near as good as it was supposed to be when it launched. To Hello Games' credit, they spent the next 10 years giving free updates for that game, and is now one of the best space exploration games on the market. It's really, really, really good. And they've announced a new game called Light No Fire, and it's sort of taking some of the same concept of open world, but it is one world in this case, the size of Earth, but everybody is playing on it, and everywhere is accessible. So if you're stood somewhere and you see a mountain, you can climb to the top of that mountain. There are no invisible barriers. You should be able to get wherever your character can climb to. It is a proper open world. Everybody is playing on the same world. It's survival, building, adventuring, exploration. There are supposed to be RPG elements in it as well, which was one thing that No Man's Sky does rather lack, is kind of the story side of things. So we'll see how much of that is sort of in there. There are flying dragons. There's a fantasy world this time around rather than a space game. It really looks like it could be a very, very interesting game. It's been hilarious watching Sean Murray, who is the boss of Hello Games, who was the one that was sort of responsible for the overhype of it, react to people's comments about it, because obviously it's their second game. After the hype of the first one, there's a lot of people going, just please don't overpromise and underdeliver. And like Sean's like, I'm going to make the Earth, you know. So he has been having fun with that. He is acutely aware of what happened with the first game. So I hope that they are very aware that when Light No Fire comes out, it's going to be in a much better state than No Man's Sky was when they first released that. But I don't think they've actually given a release date for it yet, but you can go and wishlist it on Steam right now. But I have a lot of love for Hello Games, for how they've treated the community, how they've responded to things, how they've turned things around so dramatically with No Man's Sky. They're a really wonderful UK-based company, and I'm behind them on getting Light No Fire working and up and running, and I'm really interested to see what they do with that game. So we'll have to wait and see whether it does overpromise and deliver. I hope it doesn't. I hope it's really awesome, but we'll wait and see with that. So that's all the stuff we've been doing this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups, and we do have a number of cancellations again this week. Cruel Summer, which ran on Prime Video over here, that's been cancelled after 2 seasons. That was a sort of teen anthology thriller series. So although it is cancelled after 2 seasons, the 2 seasons were self-contained stories with each season. So it's not left on a cliffhanger or anything, so at least that does still exist as a thing. And the other one was Good Trouble, which is on Disney+, and I think it went out on the BBC as well, or some of it did. They're ending it after 5 seasons. They are still filming, or just finished filming, the second half of the 5th season, and they've been allowed to go back and film some additional scenes to supersize the last couple of episodes and give it a proper ending. So although that is technically a cancellation, they are being given a chance to end it after 5 seasons, which is good, because that was a spin-off from The Fosters, I think. So it's sort of the end of quite a long era. So I'm glad that they allowed them to go back and end that properly. They both aired on Freeform in the US. Bob Odenkirk's series has been cancelled after 1 season by AMC. That was called Lucky Hank. Reviews were very mixed about that, but after something like Better Call Saul, it's very difficult to it's like a difficult second album. I think that, you're coming off Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul, and this was his next project. It just didn't land particularly well, I don't think. And the big cancellation is Station 19, the spin-off from Grey's Anatomy, cancelled after 7 seasons on ABC. So it's going to end with the upcoming 7th season. So that will get a proper ending as well. Bit of a surprise with this, because it is the second highest rated show on ABC. They've not given a reason for why they're cancelling it. The only thing I can think of is the cast contracts are probably up, because usually they sign for 7 seasons on network shows. So there is a fair chance that cast contract is probably coming to an end, which means that the wage bill for season 8 would be a lot higher, and maybe they just don't think it's worth it. They've also just taken on 911, which was cancelled by Fox and then moved back because it was a Disney made production but aired on Fox, and they've now taken that back because Fox found it too expensive. So there's 2 firefighter dramas, and maybe they've just decided this one is a better option. 911 is a better option, which I've never watched. I've never watched Station 19, so I don't know.
Well, I've watched Station 19 and it's okay. It has a bit of a problem where the storylines are very samey. They just go on the same circuit of storylines, and very much like Grey's Anatomy, it has an overarching voiceover who is all moral, and there's always a moral story to the arc of the storyline. And I sort of started to think there's not many places they can go, because the storylines have been covered either either in Grey's or in this. And I could quite believe that a glut of the characters get kept on within the Grey's Anatomy world. There is a possibility, like one doctor is permanently in Station 19, yet she was started in Grey's, and one of the firefighters is a husband to one of the doctors as well. So I can see some of the actors potentially being kept on in a different capacity back to Grey's Anatomy. I'm not sure. That could be another reason there. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, that may be a way of doing it. The other thing is, I think the overall deal with Shondaland, because Shonda Rhimes, who owns Shondaland, who make these shows, I think was based at Disney and I think moved to Netflix, if I remember, for an overall deal. So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
Oh, could do, yeah.
Whether, I don't know. It's very difficult to tell at this point because it is an odd decision given how popular that show is. I don't know what the reasoning is, but that is going, which is a shame. It will be back for the final season next year on Disney Plus in the UK and ABC in the US. So there's that. But renewals, we have had quite a few renewals this week as well, which is great. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver renewed for 3 more seasons. It's got a deal that now runs through to 2026, which is awesome because I love that show. It is one of the best of those political kind of commentary shows. It's very, very funny. If you've not caught that, he does some wonderful sort of in-depth pieces which cover very serious issues, but does it in a humorous way. So that is coming back. My Life is Murder renewed for season 4 on Acorn TV, although I think most people will probably watch it on Alibi in the UK. That will be coming back for a new season. ITV has ordered a second season of the medical thriller Malpractice. Did you watch any of that?
I did watch this one, yes. I think they might do it through the angle of the people that investigate malpractice.
Yes.
It feel like a line of duty for the medical world. That's what I think. And they put a picture, I don't know if it was just because it was a picture from the first season, of the 2 people that investigated her for malpractice. And I wonder if that's the angle that she may be taken on to investigate a different hospital with them.
You are quite right. It is. It's the 2 investigators coming back. It will not be the lead of the first season. So they are going down that route of following the investigators rather than following the person that's sort of the guest lead, which, like you say, is basically what they did with Line of Duty. I think that's quite an interesting way of doing it. As good as she was, that is difficult to bring those people back every single time if you're investigating malpractice cases. Harlem, which was a comedy following 4 best girlfriends in Harlem, New York City. That's a Prime Video series that's been renewed for a 3rd season. Twisted Metal, which we still haven't had over here. That's the Anthony Mackie series based on the video game. It's a sort of a comedy action series. That's coming back for a 2nd season at Peacock. Squid Game The Challenge, as I mentioned earlier, that's been renewed for a 2nd season at Netflix. Foundation has been renewed for a 3rd season at Apple TV, which I'm very, very happy about because that's a big, expensive production and it does make you slightly worried when it's costing that sort of money whether they are going to renew it, but it's a fantastic show. So I'm really glad that they're renewing that back. And they also announced Leverage Redemption has been renewed for a 3rd season. Leverage Redemption was the spin-off from the original Leverage. It's been airing for the first couple of seasons on Freeview, but they're moving it to Prime Video for the new season. They've done a couple of things there's a spin-off coming to the Bosch Legacy series, but that's going to be on Prime Video. So it's odd that they're sort of splitting them across services for reasons. I mean, I'm assuming it's to try and get people hooked on one thing and then get a Prime subscription for the spin-off things. Get them hooked on shows and then move them across, maybe. I don't know. But I never really watched Leverage. It's one of those that's on my long list of things that I need to go and check because everybody said it was really good. And I've not watched Redemption because obviously that's a follow-on series. So worth keeping an eye on.
Not come onto my list either. And I don't know, it just felt like one of those spin-offs that was only going to be a 1 sort of season thing. So that's why I never really paid any attention to it. And I don't think I've watched too many things on the Freevee service. I think I watched like episode of Neighbours when that came back, and that's about it.
It's one of those services that, I mean, it is there, it's free for everybody, and I just completely forget about it. There's lots of other stuff out there. I think the whole of Leverage is up there, as well as the first 2 seasons of Leverage Redemption. So it's worth going to check out if you've not got subscriptions to other things particularly. I mean, all you need is an Amazon account for Freevee. You don't need a paid Amazon account. You just need to register on the Amazon website. So if you've ever bought something off of Amazon, you've probably got an Amazon account, and you can go and use Freevee on there for free entirely. It's ad supported, obviously, but you can still go and watch stuff on there. And there's lots of old TV shows, and they've got a few bits and pieces of original content. So worth going to check out that. In pickups and other news, there is a new psychological thriller which is coming to Apple TV globally. They've announced a premiere date for that, which is the 21st of February, which is a Wednesday, 2024. It's an interesting sounding one because it's sort of space adjacent. So people in spacesuits in the pictures and stuff that they've released. However, the setup for it is Noomi Rapace, who was in Jack Ryan Django, plays Jo, who is an astronaut who returns to Earth after a disaster in space, only to discover that key pieces of her life seem to be missing. Described as an action-packed space adventure, is an exploration of dark edges of human psychology and one woman's desperate quest to expose the truth about the hidden history of space travel and recover all she has lost. So that's the setup for it. So although the space stuff is in there, it's not like spaceship shooty sort of thing. It is very much a sort of mystery thing. So it sounds kind of interesting. Jonathan Banks from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is also in there. James Darcy is also in there from Agent Carter, you'll probably know from. He was in Oppenheimer most recently as well. Julian Luman from Emily in Paris and Mallorca Files. William Catlett from Devil You Know. Barbara Suqua from Voyager and Hannah Artet. It's created by Peter Harkness, who wrote for Wallander and War of the Worlds and has written on Doctor Who as well. So, knows a thing or two about space stuff. They've really gone all out on the directors. Michelle McLaren, who did Shining Girls, Morning Show, Breaking Bad. Oscar nominee Oliver Hirschbergl, who worked on Downfall and The Experiment. And Oscar nominee Joseph Cedar, who worked on Footnote and Our Boys. So, the directors are top-notch. Decent writer behind it. Good cast. Cool concept. 21st of February on Apple TV Plus. Any interest in that one?
Possibly. I seem to remember being on the show where you may have talked about this being picked up. I don't know why. I just remember a Noomi Rapace sort of project that was coming up, and I feel like we've talked about it before.
We may have done, yeah.
It sounds quite interesting. A lot of money being thrown at it as well. So good old Apple still using their money well. But it doesn't begin with S, which is very odd.
Yes. Maybe it's like QI and they have to go through a different letter of the alphabet each year. But yes, so yes, it's a C series, so we'll see what happens when that lands, but that looks like it could be quite good. There's also been a premiere date announced on Paramount Plus for the Sexy Beast series, which seems to have been like kicking around for years, because I think when they first announced Paramount Plus, that was one of the things that they announced for it. Thursday the 25th of January, it's a prequel series based on the Sexy Beast movie, obviously different cast in this because they're all much younger. Paramount Plus 25th of January for that. So if you like the film, that might be one to go and check out. And Traitors Season 2 has been given a premiere date. I knew you were happy about that. 3rd of January, which is a Wednesday on BBC One and iPlayer. The second and third episodes will be available on iPlayer immediately after the show airs, apparently. So 3 episodes going up together. It will air on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. So you'll
Do you know a frustrating thing, Dave? Do you know the really frustrating thing?
Go on.
I've booked theatre tickets that night. But I probably very rarely, we go to the theatre 2 or 3 times a year, and I booked there from my birthday that I had earlier this year, and I booked them for that night because it's the first day back at work, so I know I won't have much to do in the evening. I thought, what possibly could happen if I booked the 3rd of January? And then when I saw this post, we were like, we're going to watch it on the train on the way home.
Yes, there you go. So what are you going to see? What show have you booked for?
We're going to see Operation Mincemeat, which has been talked about a lot. And so I booked tickets for that.
Awesome. Oh, that'll be good. Yes, definitely. If you want to check out Traitors, 3rd of January, that returns on BBC One and iPlayer. There was a new show picked up with the BBC as well. It's actually been made by PBS Masterpiece, who pick up quite a lot of BBC and ITV dramas. They sort of run quite a lot of the British stuff on PBS Masterpiece over there. But this is actually one that I think they commissioned and then the BBC BBC have picked up here. It is a very British show. It's called Miss Austen. It stars Keely Hawes and Rose Leslie in leading roles for it. It takes a literary mystery, Cassandra Austen notoriously burning her famous sister Jane's letters, and reimagines it as a fascinating, witty, heartbreaking story of sisterly love, while creating in Cassandra a character as captivating as an Austen heroine. So it's not a proper historical thing. It's a drama based around the sort of idea of it. But Keely Hawes as Cassandra, Rose Leslie is playing her young friend Isabella, who is about to lose her home following her father's death. Cassandra is ostensibly there to help her friend, but her real motive is to find a stash of private letters which, in the wrong hands, could destroy Jane's reputation. On discovering them, Cassandra is overwhelmed and she is transported back to her youth. So then there's a flashback which we meet the young Cassie and Jane. Jane is played by Patsy Ferran from Jamestown and Black Narcissus, as they navigate the infatuations, family feuds and dashed hopes which shaped their lives and laid the foundation for Jane's unforgettable stories. Sort of told in a couple of different parts. There's a great cast around it. You've got Max Irons in there from Condor and The Wife. You've got Miriam Mack from The Witcher Blood Origin. Jessica Hines is in there from Years and Years and Life After Life. Phyllis Logan from Downton Abbey and Shetland. Kevin McNally from The Crown and 10%. Alfred Enoch, who you'll know from How to Get Away with Murder. He was also in Foundation. Liv Hill from Serpent Queen and Elizabeth is Missing. Callum Lynch from Archie and Bridgerton. It's a 4-part drama. It's directed by BAFTA-winning filmmaker Aisley Walsh, who worked on Maudie and Elizabeth is Missing. Started filming last month, so it's going to be later next year before it actually lands. Produced by the same people behind Gentleman Jack and Renegade Nell as well. It sounds like it could be quite a good one. Keely Hawes and Rose Leslie are always great, so yes, could be one to look out for that.
I think when you hear Keely Hawes, you kind of get this impression that she'd do a good like Austen style drama. She'd be good in it. Yeah. I could see that happening and being quite good.
Yeah, certainly one that I think fits the cast quite well. There's a couple of the networks have also announced some of the stuff that they've got upcoming in 2024, so things to look out for. Disney Plus, there was one particular show which I found quite interesting called Death and Other Details, which stars Violet Beanie, who you might know from, she was in the Arrowverse. I think she was in The Flash.
Well, she wasn't Nora, was she?
No, she was Jessie Wells in that. So that was probably the thing that a lot of the UK audience will know her for. But she plays Imogen Scott, who becomes the prime suspect in a locked room murder mystery. To prove her innocence, must partner with a man she despises, Rufus Coltswell, played by Mandy Patinkin, who you'll know from a million different things, but fantastic actor, who is playing the world's greatest detective. So sounds like it might have elements of sort of a Sherlock Holmes kind of Knives Out kind of vibe to it, I think, maybe. But looks like it's going to be quite good. I love Mandy Patinkin and I think Violet Beanie's great. So I think that sounds like it could be quite interesting.
I'm not sure. I did like Mandy Patinkin. He was in Homeland, wasn't he?
Yes.
Could be interesting. I'm not going to commit too heavily to it. But there's, Murder at the End of the World is currently on very slow watch for me as well. So is it too similar? But anyway, it sounds like a really interesting one. And I do remember Violet Bean. I just misplaced her in terms of characters. I think she was on one of the earlier decent seasons of The Flash. So.
Yes, she was. It feels like it might have a slightly more sort of dark comedy element to it. I could be wrong about that, but I feel that's more the sort of area that it's going for. There is Renegade Nell, which we've spoken about a few times, which is the new show from Sally Wainwright, who is, of course, behind Gentleman Jack and Happy Valley. It stars Louisa Harland from Derry Girls, premiering in spring 2024. Framed for murder and on the run from her sisters, Nell Jackson turns her hand to highway robbery to survive. So it's about a female highway woman, basically. That looks like it's going to be quite good fun. And I mean, it's Sally Wainwright, so that alone means it's probably worth a look.
Definitely. So I love Sally's work. She's always good with whatever she puts in. So
there's a second season of Extraordinary landing as well, which is an amazing series if you've not seen it. That's the one about the superheroes. Everybody's a superhero except for the one girl who's the lead character. It's really funny and very much has that sort of E4 when E4 was good comedy vibe to it. The first season of that has been picked up by ITV as well. So they are going to be airing the first season on ITVX, and the second season's coming in early 2024 on Disney Plus. So you can go and check that out there. The Shogun, which is another one that's been talked around for ages, that's got a date now, 27th of February, set in feudal Japan in the year 1600, at the dawn of the century defining civil war. And there's also Feud, the new season of that, which is called Capote versus the Swans, which is the Ryan Murphy series set in high society New York. So there's those two coming. Haven't got a date for Feud yet, although I think it's got a US date, which is February, I think. So it'll probably be around then. There's a couple of Marvel series. You've got Echo coming on 10th of January, Agatha Darkhold Diaries, which I think we're all looking forward to, a late 2024 for that. That's on about 4 different names now, that show. Everybody's looking forward to Catherine Hahn coming back and chewing up scenery, I think, for that show.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got X-Men 97, which I, again, haven't got a date for that, but 2024 at some point for that. The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, which are the 2 Star Wars series that they have said are coming next year. Acolyte being set in the High Republic, which is an era that we haven't seen before, so I think that could be a really interesting one. And Skeleton Crew, which is the one that stars Jude Law and a bunch of kids. It's got a sort of Goonies sort of does Star Wars kind of vibe to it by the sounds of it, but that's coming in 2024. No exact dates for either of those yet. Interestingly, no mention of a new series of The Mandalorian in any of the press releases. So whether that's maybe skipping next year, we don't know. But those were the only 2 Star Wars series they mentioned. Interesting bunch of stuff, though, I think, coming to Disney+.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for X-Men 97. I'm currently on season 5 of the original. And really interestingly, when they put it out on TV, it was in a very different order to how it's now being put on Disney Plus. This is geekery extreme. So I've been doing some reading about the original intended order of the cartoon, and how they've played it on Disney Plus is very different. And so yeah, I'm trying to watch it the order Disney Plus say, but it doesn't match what it says in like the comic book canon about how it happens. And then you start realizing that, oh yeah, why are Scott and Jean getting married in that episode? There was no talk of it in the previous episode. But no, it's really good. I'm really excited. I'm such a geek when it comes to the cartoons like X-Men. I'm like, yes, I can't wait. But no, that I'm very excited for that.
Yes, that looks like it's going to be really good. ITV also had some of their stuff. We've got View coming in December. Winter King, which we've talked about before, but that's the Arthurian legend show. It's based on a series of books. So it's a sort of different twist on the Arthurian legend, but Ian DeCaster in that from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Eddie Marsden playing Uther, so in playing Arthur in that. But it looks like a sort of good, gritty take on the Arthur mythology, which I think could be quite interesting. But for 21st of December for that on ITVX. Vera has a special coming on the 26th, so that'll be Boxing Day sorted for you. That's going to be followed by season 13 in early 2024. Season 13 will have David Leon back as Joe Ashworth. That's the big change for season 13. So because he was in the first 4 seasons or something, wasn't he? First couple.
I'm gutted that they've lost the current guy. Like, he was really good. He'd been in it for so many years, but yeah, he must have just decided to move on, or they didn't renew his contract. And but yeah, like every so often she loses some of her helpers, and I don't know how it happens, but it wasn't a big storyline. He was just in the last episode, and he's not going to be in the next one. Whereas an actress like Cush Jumbo, when she was one of the sidekicks, she got a big storyline for her exit.
Well, that may come up in the special, because I don't think David Leon actually returns until season 13. So that December 26th special will be his final episode. So there is a sort of big exit for him in that episode. So we'll see with that. There is 4th of January, there's a really interesting drama which has Toby Jones in it, which is never a bad thing because Toby Jones is brilliant, called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, which is a fascinating story. It's a 4-part drama about one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in British legal history. Basically, a bunch of postmasters and postmistresses were wrongly accused of theft and fraud due to a defect in the IT system, and it took years for them to clear their names. It was something I was completely unaware of until sort of they started getting settlements. Only fairly recently that's sort of being talked about. But it's a really interesting story, and that's coming on the 4th of January to ITV and ITVX. Could be one to check out, and Toby Jones is the lead in that, and Toby Jones is amazing, so go and check that one out, called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. There was an interesting one, which we have mentioned a while back, called Gwed, which is coming to ITVX on the 8th of February. That's set in Liverpool, filmed entirely on location. It's a new young cast, so no names that you'll know. There are a few established actors in there, but mainly the main cast is young people that you won't know, and very much using Liverpool's distinctive voice and sort of delving into the working class culture up there. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it has a lot of interesting potential, but we'll have to wait and see. But 8th of February for that. It's called Gwed, that one. Extraordinary Season 1, as I mentioned, 15th of February for that. That's landing on ITVX, which might give you some idea of when the second season's going to drop, because you would think they'll probably do that at the same sort of time. Trigger Point is back for a second season. Vicky McClure back as the bomb disposal expert. That's coming early. I think January they have confirmed for the second season of that.
Really, really good. It's really shocking as well, some of the storylines in that. So yeah, really good.
Worth checking that out, but that's back for a second season in January. Grantchester finally lands its 8th season over here. There was an oddity given that PBS in the US aired this in July, because PBS are now the primary funder for it, I think. So they get it first, and it's taken until now for ITV to actually air it over here. But I think it's Tom Brittany's final season, this one. He's also losing his sidekick again. Robson Green and Tom Brittany back. Ecclesiastical crime solving once again. Yes, I know how much love that series has, but going to be some point in early 2024 for that one. Don't know exactly when yet. There's also some interesting sort of entertainment shows coming. You've got Who Wants to Be a Millionaire back for a new season with Jeremy Clarkson. That's back. 1% Club with Lee Mack returns. Beat the Chasers is back with Bradley Walsh. Anton Deck's Limitless Win is also back, and the final season of Takeaway Show as well, I think. Well, I say final season, they're resting it for a while. Saturday Night Takeaway is going to be sort of back, and then it will go on hiatus for a few years. You've also got a couple of new shows, or rather new old shows. Wheel of Fortune, hosted by Graham Norton, and on New Year's Day, Jeopardy starts, hosted by Stephen Fry, the national treasure that is Stephen Fry. Jeopardy I will certainly check out, because that hasn't been around for a very long time over here. I'm less bothered about Wheel of Fortune, but Jeopardy I think could be quite fun, and I think Stephen Fry's the perfect person to host that over here. The interesting story of how he got that gig, basically sort of was talking to his American agent. He was having dinner with him and basically said, you know what, we don't really go out much when we're in America. He was filming The Morning Show. Yeah, me and my partner, we don't really go out very much, we just stay in and watch Jeopardy, and Jeopardy's a wonderful show. Wonder if there's ever been a UK version of that. 2 weeks later, he gets a phone call from his American agent going, they're really excited about you hosting a UK version of Jeopardy. And he's like, wait, what? That agent is earning his money, absolutely, because he clearly gone to them afterwards and gone, hey, how do you feel about? So that's basically how it happened. They brought it, I think, to ITV saying, do you want Jeopardy with Stephen Fry as host? So yeah, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I'm really interested to see how that lands over here, but that is coming New Year's Day, so something to do when you're nursing a hangover. That would be quite good. Yeah, anything in there that sort of jumps?
Loads in there. I want to see Trigger Point, and I love the 1% Club. It's one of those game shows which I think has really hit a niche, because I'm really good at those lateral thinking type questions, and I will obviously watch Anton Deck's Limitless Win and their Saturday Night Takeaway. I haven't watched I'm a Celebrity this year. I sort of disagree with one of the contestants in there. I'm not going to give him airtime, but yep. I'll be looking forward to seeing them back with their two shows that I really enjoy. And it probably is right to rest Takeaway. It's doing really well, but you can only do so much of a good thing before it needs it rest, and give them other things that they can go off and do. So
yeah, they have got multiple shows on the go, and give it a little bit of rest. They have rested it before and brought it back, so it's not going away permanently. They've said it's just they want to put it on hiatus for a little bit while they do other stuff. That's all the news we've got for this week. We've just got, well, one solitary highlight for next week on TV. So the highlights for next week on TV, we're just into December, and it's one of those things. There is, of course, a lot of Christmas things coming around over the next few weeks. But in terms of new shows, Reacher Season 2 lands on the 15th of December, based on the Lee Child's novels. It was really good, that first season. I'm really interested to see what they do with the second season, because obviously he's really the only thing that carries over from one season to the next. Really looking forward to that coming back. Did you watch the first season?
No, I didn't. This is definitely not my thing. And even when I saw the only highlight of the week, I'll be like, oh, give me time to catch up on all those Christmassy things that are coming through. So, yeah, not a fan, I'm afraid.
Interesting. It's really, really good, that show. I mean, it's funny. It's got good drama in it. Really good series. Why is that not your sort of...
I think it's probably just like there's so much. And when it was coming on and I saw who it was going to be, the guy was in Titans and that. And I thought, oh, maybe I could give it a go. I never got round to it. And then it just passed me by. And I was like, it's too late now to get involved in another program. There's honestly, my list, even some of the stuff on BBC iPlayer, which I haven't seen this year, is just racking up on my list. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to get time to watch them all over Christmas. Some things are going to have to take a sacrifice. So
yeah, still, I would say it is a really, really good drama, and it is worth going to check. It's got a good level of humour in there, and he is perfectly cast in that role. It's not sort of all silly action. It is a good, solid story behind it. Worth going to check out, most definitely. It's a much better adaptation than the movie version. So yeah, go and check that out as well. But 15th of December for Reacher Season 2. So that is everything for this week. Geektown Awards, I mentioned again, go to geektown.co.uk/awards to go and enter and tell us your favourite TV shows, video games and films of 2023. You could win a big prize. So go and check that out over on geektown.co.uk/awards. Gray, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Come and find me on X at Gray the Geek, and it's the other websites. I'm at Gray Panton. Normally you just see posts about me running, but other than that, yeah, do come and say hello. I might be a little bit more active over Christmas when I start watching some of these shows. So
yes, so go and follow Gray over at Gray the Geek or Gray Panton or wherever you can find him on social media. For other people, you can of course go and find Bex over on twitch.tv/Trista Bites. That's BYTES. Still doing charity streams for the Samaritans. I think actually, time of recording, she's actually doing one tonight as Trista Ross, which is where she does a sort of Bob Ross takeoff of her painting things, which is really, really funny. But she's doing lots of these stupid sort of charity stuff at the moment. It's always entertaining. Go and check Bex out. Go and support her over there. Twitch.tv/Trista Bites. It's going towards a really, really good cause. Matt, you can go and find at entertainmenttalk.org for lots and lots more podcasts. There is Gaming Talk over there, and there's a Man U podcast and lots of other things as well. So go and check that out. And Daryl, you can find at hollywoodnorthnews.net for all those TV series you love, which are shot in Canada. For us, go to the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, on YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, on Blue Sky at Geektown, on Instagram at Geektown UK, TikTok at Geektown UK, and Threads at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.